Alrighty, we are back. Your favorite podcast show of the week. This is Location Weekly. It's episode number 486. We're recording live on October the 13th. Brianna, how's it going?
It's going good. Happy Thanksgiving to you and all of our friends in Canada.
Yeah, we had a good celebration this weekend, much smaller than normal. Case counts have gone up a little bit here in Ontario, so the government's kind of clamped down again, and they've told everybody to kind of for Thanksgiving, just celebrate with those in your own house and things like that. So, no big extended family gatherings, but that's it was okay. We got through it, and, we talked to our family and whatnot. So
It was a virtual holiday more so.
virtual holiday. So yeah, they
Yeah.
keep saying here, like if we follow the rules and we do a good job, for Thanksgiving, which we just had, then hopefully Christmas will be normal. That's what they're aiming for here.
Well, I'm hopeful for you. That would be really great.
Yeah.
We had our kids had fall break this weekend, so they had a longer weekend. Anybody who works, not so much so, but we actually ended up just going apple picking, and it was nice. We drove up to the mountains and enjoyed some of the fall leaves and came back with a bag of apples, which means now I have to figure out something to cook and like bake
Apple
or,
pie.
peel apples. Yeah. I like to cook, but I feel like since having kids, my time in the kitchen is more like just a means to an end versus like an artistic outlet as it used to be. But baking's like a whole new thing. So now I've got to like find a recipe, and I don't know. I'm going to have to get domestic or something this week. We'll see how that goes. But
All
yeah, it
right.
was good family time. Keep you posted.
Well, that's where you bring the kids into it. Like they can get domestic with you or
Well,
messy,
like you get
whichever.
messy. Yeah.
Cool. And your
Uh,
Braves are doing well?
Oh my goodness. I stayed up way too late last night. Was like super excited. My husband was like falling asleep in the bed and I was watching it, and I probably woke him up like 5 times, like, ah! Just with the excitement. So yeah, it was a really exciting game and like really great pitching in the beginning and just a lot of back and forth. And yeah, so I'm excited to watch the rest of the series, but we're excited here in Atlanta.
There you go. No, I think, yeah, I mean, you've got a great team, so we'll see. Hopefully it works out. I'm just happy the Yankees are out. So our mutual friend Ron Carricker would not appreciate that, but I'm happy the Yankees are out. So
I'm gonna have to side with you on that one.
yeah. So anyhow, all right. Well, we've got a good show for you this week. Four stories to cover. As per always, I'll have Brianna kick us off with a fun brand story.
Yeah. So this is an interesting story because IBM has this internship type of and leadership program. It's called Extreme Blue. Apparently, it's been around since 1999. I didn't know much about this, but I kind of dug in. But it's where business and technology students can collaborate on a variety of ideas. And this time they collaborated with Burberry as a brand. And the project is really just designed around transparency and sustainability of products for Burberry and just showcasing that. And so Burberry plans to put labels on all of their items at some point. That would just outline like what is the sustainability of the elements or the positive attributes sort of that each product has, right? So examples could be like number of recycled materials used, or how it adheres to the carbon emissions standards, or that those who assembled were paid fair living wages to create the product. So it's pretty interesting. They aim to have all of this on display. They aim to have all of their products have more than one positive attribute by 2021, which is a great, very ambitious. And the system that they built and worked with is called Voyage, and it's using IBM's public cloud and blockchain platform. So it's collecting the different key data aspects, and it displays the details within. It's going to be used within the Burberry app. That's the plan. So we've seen something like this with some other companies. Like we've seen Starbucks kind of talk about like how they grow the coffee beans all the way to it ending up in your cup. And I would say that this is, more and more we are becoming a little bit, I don't know, I think sensitive about the products and things that we buy. And especially when you're talking about a brand like Burberry, it only makes sense to think about when you're paying a high end price to make sure that there are high end and quality materials, but also, the fact that like you're thinking about the environment and you're thinking about, the people who made this and assembled it, that wasn't in some sweatshop and that they're paid fairly. So I like this idea. I like bringing in technology and social responsibility together and showcasing that. I think we've heard a lot of, I don't know, at least from my perspective and hearing a lot of like D2C brands talk about sort of the sustainability. And I think that that's going to push more of these sort of high end and couture brands to follow suit because, more and more it seems like people are more interested in something that was built sustainably and ethically than something that just has a fancy brand name a lot of times. And so I think it's kind of pushing these large couture houses to step up and not only, provide and make fashion and really, set the tone for whatever is coming on trend, but also to say that it's a trend to be socially responsible and not maybe wasting a lot of our resources. So I would have to say, though, one thing that does bother me is that I've heard of a lot of fashion houses that, like, if they don't sell things, they just burn them all in a big pile at the end of the year because they're not going to ever discount or have sales. And to me, that just is like, I don't know. I frown upon that. But back to the focus story. I like this. I think it's good. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I think it's interesting, and obviously, we've talked as you indicated already, whether it's Starbucks or others, about I think the consumer's desire to understand, what they're eating, what they're buying, where it's coming from, how it's sourced, how it's made, and having that traceability, I think, is really important. Obviously, IBM has, some pretty solid blockchain technology to enable that. And I think, as you say, I think, especially high-end brands like this, like Burberry, need to, sort of really get behind their product and kind of share, with their buyer, kind of what, what's going on, kind of, the underneath the hood type of look at things. And so I think that's interesting. I wonder whether, so the only question I have about this is that it's sort of that experience is enabled through the Burberry app. So like, I mean, I'm assuming that there's some big value add beyond this for people who are Burberry shoppers to have a Burberry app. I don't know. I mean, I don't know anybody who has a Burberry app, but I don't, I can't afford to hang out in those circles. So maybe you do. But to me, it's like, I'm not against it. I think that needs to be the way that this is powered for them. But hopefully there's other experiences that can kind of share this, whether that's through a QR or AR or some other things that they can do in store that can deliver the same sort of visibility into the sort of supply chain and the ecosystem behind this. And through the app. I think it's not a either or. I think it's all of the above, like, kind of thing. And so I'd like to see that. But otherwise, yeah, I think people are really striving to understand, and I think also to, especially in COVID times right now, where there's a big focus on buying local, supporting local businesses. None of us want to see our small businesses, in our communities, go under. And so I think, when you're a big, multinational brand, you need to do everything you can to kind of really show that, you're supporting local business and you're not just exploiting, the market. So I'm all for it. I think, there's a lot of value in what they're trying to do here. I think IBM's a good, solid partner to bring into this. I hope it's sort of, a wider exposure than just through the app.
Yeah, I think that, likely, I know we had covered a story about one of their very interactive stores that they were launching somewhere in APAC, and they had the scannable QR codes and earning points to use in the cafe. But again, I still, even then, I don't know that that's worth, like, yeah, I'm sure I know people who have the Burberry app, but at the same time, why, like, for me, I don't know that there's not a lot of like brand specific apps like that make a lot of sense to have, in my opinion. But yeah, so I would agree with that point, that there's not a high value proposition there, but maybe they'll surprise us.
Yeah. All right. Cool. All right. Moving from Burberry now to over to Germany, where a candy company is kind of getting ready for Halloween in a little bit of a different way. A company's called Ferrara, and they have a very popular candy brand called Trolli. And obviously, Halloween's going to be a challenge this year with COVID, and I think many cities, many areas are encouraging people to not go door to door this year and find other ways to do that. And I think obviously this is very tough for the candy manufacturers in finding kind of new ways to connect and get their brand experience across and their products across. So what these guys have come up with is they've tapped into augmented reality this year, and they've come up with a new mobile game that people can play. And they've partnered with Active Theory and Sony for two separate campaigns, which use augmented reality. It's the first time that this brand Trolli has done this. It kind of, sort of works with their themes a bit. So this is on Sony PlayStation and Active Theory, and it's called Deliciously Dark Escape. So it's a multi-layered game, and you engage with this by scanning a QR code off of a candy package. So they've got these Trolli gummy worm packages that are out there, and you find these packages, you scan, and it activates the game for you to play. And what they found, interestingly, on the research that they've done with this, is that there's a interesting correlation between their typical customer who's consuming this candy and gaming and gamers. 75% of U.S. households have at least one gamer. 21% of those gamers are 18 are younger than 18 years old. So they've developed this sort of hidden site that gamers can engage that is activated through the packaging. You can win PlayStation and Trolli prizes. So it's been up and running since the middle of September. They've already got over 26,000 unique users who've played the game, so good engagement, I think, spending at least 4.5 minutes playing. And they're quite happy with the success of this. They're going to kind of develop more games and more crossovers this way. I think it's pretty cool. And it's a different way for a candy brand to kind of really get into Halloween this year, and team up with something that people like, which is that age group.
Yeah, I think this is at least creative and unique how they've done that. And Trolli, I mean, the gummy worms, right? I mean, who doesn't love some gummy worms and sour gummies and sugary things like that? I mean, anyways, I like that they have thought about identifying a specific audience segment. I think that is that's solid marketing there, and knowing their numbers and going out after that, I think is really great. And I love the channel that they're using in order to do that. I think it's really, really solid. And it sounds like 26,000 is not small engagement, especially for, a gummy worm brand. So I think that's a pretty creative and positive, story for sure. I mean, for candy.
Yeah, and the other thing I like about it too is that it's not a one-time thing. They've kind of designed it in a way that people will hopefully re-engage and therefore buy more gummies to drive more engagement. So the QR on the pack gives you access to a 14-day PlayStation Plus trial, which is this exclusive thing that they put together. And then it encourages return purchases, because on each pack of where the QR codes is, you get a 10-minute sort of unlock of the game. So the more packs you buy, the more game time you get, basically. So once you're into the game, and we know how gamers are, they always want to keep playing more.
Yeah.
So hopefully you got to buy more gummies, which, maybe makes up for the lost sales in what they would have sold in Halloween candy. I don't know. But, at the end of the day, I think it's a neat, fun way to engage people in a different way than has been done in the past. So I like it.
Yeah, I feel like they almost just took a page out of like Candy Crush, right? So instead of just having to buy more like re-ups and not waiting to come back, you're actually physically buying candy. And I think that it's smart, right? It's driving revenue, it's driving engagement. And there's likely a lot of data that they're able to capture about their consumers to better understand them and serve them. And so I like how this is not just a fun campaign, but it's actually uniquely tied to increasing sales as well. So another Halloween story, moving on, is Halloween campaign with Nextdoor app and Party City. So do you guys have Party City in Canada?
Yep.
Okay, so Party City, you get your costumes and your plates and cups for your birthday parties and decor and piñatas and all those things. Well, now they are doing this campaign where they've teamed up with the Nextdoor app. And what they do is it's like Halloween inspired augmented reality experience. So you can go in and see where in the, there's like virtual visitors within your community. And I definitely am going to maybe try this out with my kids and see if I can send you a picture or something. But you can have these virtual visitors in the neighborhood and you can go and take pictures with them through the app. And so obviously, again, we're looking more at what are, alternative ways to celebrate Halloween during the pandemic without having large groups together. And so this is an interesting campaign. And I like this. I think the Nextdoor app has not been traditionally one that's pushed out a lot of these types of campaigns for advertising. And I like that they're starting to get into that a little bit more. I think Nextdoor app is really good at a lot of things, but they've been sort of slow in how they monetize a lot of their data and the access that they have on such a granular and localized level. And so I really like this type of an aspect. And I think there's so much more that they could do, especially just connecting, things like local businesses. And, they do a lot in the crime and safety areas for neighborhoods. And now I think just moving towards like kind of a fun aspect and engagement is going to help them a lot in terms of growth and even new user acquisition. So I like this campaign.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a lot to add to this story. I think it's a good partnership for them. I think that, Party City, it's interesting, right? Because, when you think about Halloween and you think about costumes and you think about decorations and all of that, Party City is one of those brands that, it's a regular, it's a staple, right? Of where you go to for, the things you need. Up here, we also have this, I don't know if you guys have this there, but we have this other brand that sets up these sort of temporary stores called Spirit Halloween. And it's all they sell is costumes and stuff. And they're only open for like a month and then they're gone. And then, maybe they set up for Christmas again or whatever. I don't know. But, it's interesting, right? And like the candy story, they have to find new ways to kind of reinvent this holiday, right? Or this celebration. And I think Nextdoor's has been growing fast. They've been, really sort of connecting. Even here in Canada, we've seen like my local neighborhood where I live, there's a Nextdoor community and people are quite actively posting messages and, what they need, what they're looking for, what, who's got a recommendation for this service or that. So this idea of this sort of treat map and understanding kind of who's handing out candy or who's not handing out candy or encouraging people to decorate and kind of coordinate things, on your street. I like it. I think it's a great sort of way to sort of continue to build that community and get local and get connected to your neighbors in a different way, right? Like, people often talk about how, we're so busy, with our work and our, kids and our lives that, we don't have the time to get to know our neighbors like maybe a generation ago. I don't know if you had this, but when I was a kid, we used to have this thing called Neighborhood Watch. And so like there would be like people, you know, who worked from home or who were, you know, at home during the day, and they used to have like the symbol, like the neighborhood watch symbol, and you would have it in your window. And if you were a kid and, you know, you were locked out of your house, or, you know, whatever the case was, you know, something that was, you know, awry, you knew who the neighborhood watch houses were that were kind of trusted. You could go to, ring their bell, and you can kind of like, you know, they would let you in, and they were safe and trusted by the other parents, and, you know, just stuff like that, right? And I think, you know, in a similar way, we need to find ways to reinvent Halloween and find safety in our streets and knowing our neighbors. And I think Nextdoor is a good way to do that. And I think Party City is, you know, kind of captured, you know, in teaming up here with them, you know, an interesting way to kind of get their brand out there and kind of get behind local and get behind community engagement. And I think that's really key, right? Because, you know, I think as we talked about, and even in the first story this morning with IBM, you know, and talking about sort of the blockchain and traceability, even though we're talking about a big, you know, luxury brand like Burberry, bring that down now to Party City, and all of a sudden the same applies. Like we want to, whether it's tracking the supply chain of our product or, you know, just connecting with people around us locally, it's still about knowing each other, knowing what's going on, knowing, you know, who people are. You know, and I think this idea of local, of buying local, supporting local, engaging local is really important. And that's what I see in this story. And I like it.
Yep.
All right. I said I didn't have a lot to add to that story. Somehow I ended up talking for a while, but that's weird. Anyways, okay, the final story now. Walmart. So going back to big box retail here, they are experimenting now with 200 supercenter stores in the US right now on kind of reinventing the kind of layout and flow of their stores with new signage. And so if you've been in any Walmarts out there, you know, historically they've been big investors in signage and digital signage in particular, but they kind of wanted to mix it up a little bit and take a page out of how airports use location data and wayfinding signs. And so what they're doing is kind of just, you know, recreating how they label, you know, different fonts, different placements of screens in different areas to kind of talk about, you know, here's the meat section, or here's the dairy section, or here's the men's clothing section, and so on. And kind of when you come in, they've got these sort of big digital signage screens that you would typically see in airports with directional arrows kind of pointing you for faster navigation, faster kind of getting to where you need to go. And I really like this because it's not, I mean, if you're a regular Walmart customer, you probably know the layout of the store. But if you just kind of walk into a Walmart, and sometimes they move things around, but like, you know, I think there's this idea today that, you know, I think this really plays well with, and that is, especially the younger generation coming behind us, Brianna, is really, you know, there's this sense of urgency, impatience. You know, I run in, I need to get whatever I need to get, and especially if you've grown up almost exclusively in a Amazon Prime, Uber Eats, you know, delivery world where everything's brought to you, and now for some reason you have to walk into the store and you don't know it. You know, having the directional sort of aspects of leading you where you need to go quickly, I think is helpful. And so, yeah, so they've kind of got this all connected into the Walmart app experience. And an airport, if you've ever used wayfinding in an airport app or a airline app like United's app that, you know, is fully connected into O'Hare Airport, for example, you know, you can pull up and say, hey, I'm looking for this, and it can give you turn-by-turn navigation indoors in terms of getting you to where you need to go. So I think it's quite powerful what they've put together here. Like I said, they're testing this in 200 stores, supercenters across the U.S. And yeah, I mean, from some of the imagery that they shared and some of the pictures I've seen, I think I like the look of it. I think it looks really clean and well labeled and well laid out. And of course, they're also it's not just kind of the navigation experience. They bring in contactless payments and other things as well for seamless checkout. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so I like this. I actually use the like the location of products on my Target app a lot when I shop, because sometimes there's multiple places that something could be found. For example, when I was looking for like back to school supplies, they have like the general like office supplies area, but then sometimes they have these seasonal pop-ups in different areas. And so like being able to find certain things, and with little ones, you have like this very specific list of the supplies they're supposed to have. And so, I use that a lot of times when I'm looking for something very specific versus just like my everyday, I need to get more, paper towels or whatever it may be, or, laundry detergent. And so I think that it's really helpful to be able to have that, especially in a huge store like Walmart, and especially when you're visiting different locations potentially, and the stores are laid out differently. Being able to easily find what you're looking for is really helpful. The one thing that I would say though is like, I think sometimes you look at these big box stores, and instead of it's great that you have all this information inside of an app, but to give a very clear example, when the pandemic first was starting and things were shutting down, I knew we needed to have some extra activities here at the house for the kids to be able to do while it was warming up outside. And so I was looking for like a kiddie pool, right? I just wanted one of those little plastic pools that my girls could sit outside and splash around, have fun. And so I searched, I found it on the Walmart app. It says it's in stock at this specific store. I go exactly to where I'm supposed to be. And they're like, oh no, we're sold out. We haven't had those in a long time. There's none of those are here. And I'm like, well, It says it's here. So I think that there's a disconnect between what you can do from a technology perspective and what's really happening, not only from an inventory, but from an organizational standpoint. And so like, my question is, there's so much focus sometimes on technology aspects. And I think that also if the underlying support there is not consistent with that experience, it just ruins everything that you've done. So if there's not, any staff that you can ask, is this not here? Is this in stock? Or, helping you kind of fine tune things once you get there. Or if the place is just a disaster, like that's not really helpful from, a customer and consumer perspective experience. So I think that the idea of the wayfinding is awesome. And I just hope that they also invest in what's going on in the stores as it pertains to like kind of just rounding out the whole experience.
There you go. And that's it. Well said. So that's our show for this week. 4 pretty great stories in there. I think a fairly wide array of topics, but probably we'll have a few more Halloween stories, before the month is done. We thank you for listening and watching. You've been absorbing episode number 486 of Location Weekly. Please reach out to us if you have story ideas or feedback for us. We're easily found on all the social channels. If you're watching the video, the information's at the end of the show. So thanks everybody. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.